Hello, and welcome back to our channel, where we journey into tales that stir the soul. Tonight, pull up a chair and get comfortable as we travel to a faraway land, a kingdom of prosperity ruled by a monarch whose wisdom was as vast as his domain. This is the story of The King and the Wicked Servant, a timeless fable about power, betrayal, and the profound strength found in mercy. In this kingdom, bathed in sunlight and harmony, lived a king beloved by all. His rule was just, his people were happy, and peace was the law of the land. But as is often the case, even in the brightest light, shadows can lurk. Among the king's countless servants, one man's heart was a knot of envy and ambition. His name was Malvador, and he seethed with a secret poisonous resentment. Malvador served the king day in and day out, but with every bow, his jealousy grew. He saw the king's power, his adoration, and the splendor of his court not as a blessing for the kingdom, but as a personal affront. He craved it all for himself. In the dark corners of his mind, a wicked plan began to form. He would seize the throne, no matter the cost. The king, for all his wisdom, remained blissfully unaware of the viper he harbored in his own palace. The servant's scheme was as cowardly as it was deadly. He would poison the king, but not with a single, obvious dose. No, his method would be slow, insidious, a creeping illness that would make the king's eventual death look like a tragic, natural decline. He spent weeks in secret, gathering rare and potent herbs, brewing a colorless, odorless poison. He imagined the kingdom mourning, never suspecting the truth, while he, Malvador, ascended to the throne he felt he so richly deserved. The perfect opportunity soon presented itself. The annual grand feast, a celebration of the kingdom's prosperity. The entire court would be present, the wine would flow freely, and no one would pay close attention to a single goblet. On that fateful night, with trembling hands masked by the bustling atmosphere, Malvador carefully laced the king's personal chalice with his lethal concoction. His heart pounded in his chest. Soon it would all be his. However, a king does not rule a prosperous kingdom by being naive. Years on the throne had taught him to be a keen observer of human nature. He had a sixth sense for deceit, a subtle feeling when something was amiss. Throughout the feast, as toasts were made and music played, the king's gaze drifted to Malvador. The servant was a picture of anxiety. Beads of sweat dotted his brow, his hands fidgeted nervously, and most tellingly, he couldn't meet the king's eyes. A silent alarm bell rang in the king's mind. Trusting his intuition, the king made a quiet, last-minute decision. Before taking a sip from his goblet, he motioned for his most trusted advisor, a man who also served as his official taster. "A small taste," the king requested, his voice calm but firm, his eyes never leaving Malvador. The servant's face went pale. As the advisor brought the cup to his lips and took a small sip, the effect was immediate and horrifying. His face contorted in pain, and he collapsed, gasping for air. The festive music screeched to a halt. Panic erupted, but the king's royal guard was swift. Before Malvador could even think to run, he was seized, his wicked plot exposed for all to see. The silence in the grand hall was deafening, broken only by the traitor's panicked breaths. Betrayal hung heavy in the air. The evidence was undeniable, the crime unthinkable. By all laws of the land, Malvador's fate was sealed. The dungeons, followed by a public execution, was the expected, just punishment for high treason. The court looked to their king, awaiting the sentence. But the king, though his heart was heavy with the sting of betrayal, did not call for the executioner. Instead, he looked upon the trembling, defeated Malvador and saw not just a monster, but a man consumed by his own inner darkness. In that moment, the king made a choice that would echo through his kingdom's history far longer than any act of vengeance. He chose mercy. He believed that true justice wasn't just about punishment, but about the possibility of redemption. Malvador was sentenced not to death, but to a life of hard labor in the very fields his greed had sought to rule. He would work the land, feel the sun on his back and the dirt under his nails, and learn the value of honest toil. He would be stripped of all power and status, but not of his life. The king gave him a second chance, not to regain his position, but to reclaim his humanity. And so, this story leaves us with a profound lesson. The hunger for power and the thirst for revenge can feel all-consuming, but they are fleeting and destructive. True, lasting strength is found in wisdom, in foresight, and most powerfully, in the capacity for mercy. The king's greatest triumph wasn't in uncovering a plot. It was in choosing to build rather than destroy, to offer a path to redemption where others would have only offered a sword. The wicked may plot and scheme, but it is the wise who understand that forgiveness, when earned, is the most powerful force for change. Thank you for joining us for this tale tonight. We hope it gives you something to reflect on. Remember that in our own lives, we are constantly faced with choices. It is these choices, especially the difficult ones, that truly define who we are. Until next time, take care and never underestimate the power of a merciful heart. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that make you think.